In this part of the lesson, we're going to take a look at the curve mesh command. So I'm going to come in and create a new file in the generic template. I'm not going to name my part. Okay, so the curve mesh in the freeform tab allows us to create faces by blending through a mesh of U and V curves. Okay, and these curves can be sketches, wireframe curves, or face edges. And these curves must intersect with one another, but they do not necessarily have to have coincident endpoints. So in order to use this, we first create our curves, or sketches, and then we essentially apply a skin to this skeleton of curves. So let's come in and create a sketch. Just right click, insert sketch on the top datum plane. Okay, and I'm going to bring in an image. Okay, I'm going to pick this image of a leaf. We're going to use the curve mesh to create a leaf. I'll use my center define, place it at the center. Let's give it a width and height of 10 by 10. Okay, now I'm going to trace out the edge of this leaf using my point curve. Okay, I'm just doing this quickly. Okay, and I'm going to create the curve closed. I'll tweak a few of these just to line it up better. Let's drop down our magnitude here to make it more pointed. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that, and we'll blank out our image. Okay, so here is the outline of our leaf. It's not perfect, but it will serve the purpose. I'm going to exit. In fact, I'm going to split this sketch into two parts. Trim split at point, and I'll split it at the top and the bottom to create two curves. Okay, in our sketch. Exit back out into the part level. I'm going to insert another sketch on the side datum plane. Okay, and this is going to give our leaf some wavy look. I'm going to come in with a point curve. I want to create this one closed this time. Okay, this is just going to give our leaf a wavy look. We're going to extrude this curve, this sketch, in our part level, and then project our leaf outline onto it. When we project it to the face, it will turn our sketch into 3D curves, and we'll have two halves because we split them in that sketch. Okay, so we have two curves. I'm also going to erase this extruded surface. Okay, so here is an outline of a wavy leaf. Now these make up our U or our V lines. So we now need to come in with some curves in the normal direction. Okay, so we're going to build up the leaf using some sketches. We'll put in 3 sketches. So I'm going to insert some datums first of all. Right click, insert datum. On the curve, we'll put one roughly in the middle. Again, I'm going to want to align this datum plane approximately. Let me take away the rectangle first of all. First I want to flip my Y up to the top, so that's a rotate about the X axis of 180 degrees. I want to do the same for the X, flip that around, so that's a rotation about the Y axis, 180. Okay, now I want this datum, the X, to point roughly to the opposite side, so I can rotate a bit more on the Y to align this near enough to the opposite side. Let's confirm, right click, insert datum, we'll put one nearer to the end. Okay, we're going to flip our X and Y again. Okay, we need to ensure that all of these datums that we put on this curve are aligned with one another. Okay, so once again I want to rotate my X to point to the opposite side. So I'm using my Y. Okay, just near enough. That's good. Insert datum. Last one, close to the end. Okay, our X and Y are in the correct orientation already. Let's just rotate about the Y-axis a little bit to get our X pointing to the opposite side. Okay, so here are our datums on our leaf outline, and I'm going to insert sketches on all of them. Right click, insert sketch, start off with this one. Use central define by plane, make sure that is checked, confirm. Okay, the first thing I want to do is reference the 3D curves, our 3D leaf outline, using this fourth method. Okay, it's the curve intersection. It's going to place a point at the intersection of this datum plane, 2D face, and our 3D curves. Okay, one of them will be at the origin, naturally. Okay, now I'll come into plane view. Okay, you can see how the orientation is a little off. Maybe I should have rotated my datum plane about the Z to get the X pointing straight across, but it doesn't matter. I can account for that. I'm going to come in with a point curve now, create it closed. We start at our first intersection point. Just going to do this outline. We need to make sure we have another intersection, so let's snap in there. Okay, so I'm just doing something quickly. This will be building up our three-dimensional leaf. Okay, I'm going to confirm it. Exit back out into our part level and do the same for our other two datums. Right click, reference, okay, this one's aligned better. I know the shape I want. Okay, maybe that's a bit thick. Okay, I'll exit back out into the part. Final datum plane, insert sketch, right click, reference the two curves. Okay, let's come in with our final curve. I'm going to make this more simple. Okay, I think that will do. I'll confirm. Maybe a bit thick. Okay, so we have our curve, our skeletons built up. We have, let's say these are the U curves, and then we'll call these the V curves. Okay, so then we can come into our curve mesh command. Okay, in the curve mesh we need to pick our U curves and our V curves. Okay, let's start off with our U curves. Can we start off with either one? I pick the curve, okay, pick the segment, then when I want to add it to my list of U curves, I middle click. Okay, the purpose of having this curve segment is that we can pick multiple curves if for some reason our curve is split up. We don't need to insert a curve list, we can just pick the multiple segments and then middle click to add it as a single curve. So pick the curve, middle click to add it to our U curves. Now let's pick our V curves. These are the sketches. Picking them, middle clicking. Okay, and here you can see the shape of our leaf being built up. We have various optional inputs for our curve mesh. I'm not going to cover these. Some of them will be familiar. Let's not keep our curves. The extend to intersection point. This will extend our shape to where our V or our U curves intersect with themselves. Okay, if we take this off, it will only go as far as where the U and the V lines intersect with each other. In this case we will want to keep our intersection point, extend to the intersection point. So I'm going to confirm the operation. Okay, I'm getting an error message here. We're given a red highlight of the issue area. Okay, maybe I did not place this curve exactly on the other line. Okay, you can see here that it is not placed on that point, so we do not have the intersections, which is what we need. If I continue, it's going to create the approximation. Okay, which is decent, but for completeness, I need to make sure, I would like to make sure that this is hooked up properly. Okay, so I believe it was the sketch 4. Yes, we don't have this correctly lined up here. I'll take out that, and I'm going to drop this point onto the intersection point. Okay, replay the curve mesh, confirm. Okay, I had no error message there. Okay, so this is the curve mesh. We've created a wavy leaf here using the curve mesh. Okay, so it allows us to create some more organic shapes. Okay, I'll now use the curve mesh to create a ring template. So I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to use the basic closed solitaire, and we'll name this part curve mesh ring. Okay, so I'm going to set up this curve mesh ring with some variables so we can tweak it so that we get the desired shape or an interesting shape. First of all, I want to show my dimensions. I'm going to set up a variable for this center gemstone datum plane, the offset. So I'm going to insert a variable. I'm going to call this the ring finger offset. So at 5, let's put it at 7. Change our entity filter onto dimension, pick the dimension, and we'll hook it up to the ring finger offset. Okay. I'm going to insert a couple more variables before I create a sketch. Okay, the first one, top sketch width, say 8, middle click to bring up the variable creator, and then I'll do a top sketch arc radius, and we'll say 2. Okay, now I'm going to begin inserting these sketches for my curve mesh. I'm going to right click, insert sketch on this top datum plane. First of all, the center gemstone datum plane. Okay, I'm going to come in first of all with two 2-point lines, and I'll constrain these point to midpoint to the origin. Okay, we have a vertical and a horizontal. Let's give these some dimensions. Right click, quick dimension. Okay, these are going to be linked up to the variable we just created. The top sketch width. Okay, and I want to have there we go, and I want to have the width and the length to be the same value. Okay, we're going to be creating a square on the top here. I'm going to turn these into construction geometry. We'll come in with a rectangle, the center define method, first point, drag it out. It's going to snap onto our endpoints. Let's see if it's linked up. Okay, this one is not linked up. Top sketch width. This one's not wanting to change. I'm going to delete this dimension and reinsert it. Okay, it's changing nicely now. Top sketch width. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to come in with a fillet chain. I'm going to I'm going to shift pick, chain pick our rectangle, set our radius to be 1 to start off with. Okay, now I'm going to set this radius to be equal to the top sketch arc radius. Okay, so that's going to be equal to the top sketch arc radius. Let's see if this is all staying linked up. It's staying linked up. Remember, if you do change the value, press cancel to keep it linked up to the original value. Okay, if you change it and press OK, it's not going to be linked up. Change it, cancel, and then it's still linked up. Okay, so this is the first sketch at the top there. Okay, so I want to come in with 2 more of these sketches at various heights with respect to our origin, and we'll be making a curve mesh using those sketches, and we're going to bring in some other curves as the U part or the V part, the opposite part for that curve mesh. So next up, I'm going to create another variable for this dimension here. So I'm going to insert a variable. I'm going to call this the middle shank thickness. Let's set it to be 3. Okay, so I'll link this up to be the middle shank thickness. Then I'm going to drop a curve on here. Arc, and let it snap to these points. Okay, now I want to come in with a curve, a 3-point curve. The first point, I'm going to right click, middle of that curve there in the sketch. The next curve, I'm going to set tangent direction first of all to be along the arc we just created. We do not want to create this curve closed, and I place the point, middle click. Okay, so I'm creating some curves here for our curve mesh. Let's mirror this across to the other side. Okay, now I'm going to place two datums that we'll be using to place our two other sketches on. So I'm going to insert variables first of all that will control the offset of these datum planes. So I'll start off with a bottom sketch offset. I'll set it to be -4. Middle click, and we're going to have a middle sketch offset. Let's say 9. Okay, so we're going to have a bottom sketch, middle sketch, and this is our top sketch. So let's right click, insert datum. I want it to be on our top datum, or in that orientation, so that is our XY. So we come into the XY option, and we just need to set the offset. We need to set it to be an expression. We already have our variable browser open. If not, click on the A. We're going to set one to be the bottom sketch offset. Confirm, middle click, top datum offset. We can just come in and straight away grab it, middle sketch offset. Okay, so you can see our two datum planes brought in there. Okay, so now I'm going to create these two more sketches, but again I want to have variables, so we'll insert some more variables, the same kind as we had for our top sketch. Okay, so one controlling the width and one controlling the corner arc radius. Now the length, if we say this is the length, remember we set this to be the same distance in the top sketch, but for our next sketches, this length, we're not going to set up a variable for it, it's going to be determined by our curves. Okay, we'll be using references in the sketch environment. So let's start off by bringing in some more variables. And we can see them being added into our expressions folder. Okay, let's create those sketches. Right click, insert sketch. We'll start with our middle. Okay, I'm going to right click, reference, using the fourth reference method to bring our intersection points of these two curves. Okay, so this is going to determine the length of our sketch. Let's come into a plane view, we'll hide the part level. Okay, now I want to come in with a 2-point line, constrain it to be vertical, quick dimension, and the quick dimension is going to be linked up. This is our middle sketch width. Okay, we can change this to be construction geometry, right click, toggle type, and now we can constrain it point to midpoint to the origin. Then we'll come in with our rectangle, letting it snap to these points. Okay, so we have our constraints. Now we'll do the fillet chain, holding down the shift, confirm, then we link it up after we've confirmed it. This is the middle sketch arc radius. Okay, this is going to be good. I'm going to exit out of here, right click, insert sketch, use exactly the same method for the bottom. Right click, reference, using the fourth method, we have the 2 points referenced, plane view, target, come in with a 2-point line, right click, quick dimension. Again, this is our bottom sketch, width, toggle the type, constraint, point to midpoint, sketch, come in with a rectangle, let it snap to our other points, fillet chain, holding down the shift, confirm, then we double click, link it up to the bottom sketch arc radius, exit. Okay, I have a feeling I linked up this middle sketch to the bottom sketch width, so let me come in and correct that. Double click, show target, this is the bottom, I wanted this to be the middle. Okay, so this is the skeleton for our curve mesh. In fact, we need to add in one more curve, and that is a curve coming around here. So I'm going to right click, insert a sketch, side datum plane, right click, reference, referencing these sketches, show target, plane view, and we're just going to drop in a point curve between them and just use the default options. So middle clicking again to the opposite side. Okay, so here is our skeleton, and we have this all linked up with our variables. So let's come in and add these variables to our driving parameters. We'll clear it out first. Apply just to lock that in. Okay, so left click, right click, browse variables, do the ring finger offset. Let's come in with the top sketch width, top sketch arc radius, do the middle shank thickness, then we'll come in with our middle sketch offset, our middle sketch width, middle sketch arc radius, bottom sketch offset, bottom sketch width and arc radius. Good to apply this. Let's see if they're working well. We'll start off with the ring finger offset, 8. Okay, that's moved up and they're all the curves are moving with it, which is what we want to see. We don't want to see any open ends to our curves. Top sketch width, arc radius, let's take a look at the middle shank thickness. Okay, we can see all of our sketches updating with it. That's what we want to see. It means you have a nice linked up design. Middle sketch offset. Let's see what happens if we set this to be 8. Moves down. The width. Okay, so it's a good idea to just test out your variables at a convenient moment, which would be before our curve mesh, so we can really see that they're all working as they're supposed to. Okay, so they all seem to be fine. Let me save. And okay, one last thing I want to do before I come up with the curve mesh is I'm going to want to split this lower arc into two segments so that I can use one segment for each side. So I'm going to wireframe, trim split at point, pick the curve and the point. Don't need to be dead on at the center, but might as well. Confirm. Okay, we have two segments now. Okay, so let's come in with the curve mesh. Curve mesh, U-curves first of all. Okay, so let's pick these lines. Okay, I'm picking the segments. I want to pick both of these, then I middle click. Opposite side, both of them, then middle click. Then the next is this sketch. Middle click. Curve segments. The V, middle click. Middle click. Middle click. Okay, we don't want to extend to the intersection point, it's not working anyway. Okay, so here is our face built up from our curves. Confirm the operation. Let's come in to the Heal tab and we'll fill some gaps. Pick the edges. Confirm, middle click. Confirm. Okay, we could be using n-sided patches for this or various other methods. The fill gap is quite a nice one. Okay, so next up we want to shape, extrude. We want to extrude cut. So let's pick the curve list. Drag it out two sides. We want to be on the remove. There's our preview. We'll keep the profile. Confirm. Okay, so you can see how the ring shape is starting now. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to trim the whole shape. I want to trim it to the top datum plane. Keep trimming shapes and we'll cap the trim region. In fact, we won't cap it. Okay, so we've trimmed it. We've got the upper half of our shank now created from the curve mesh. Finally, we want to create the lower half. This is simple. I'm going to first of all come in with a curve from edge. Okay, we'll be lofting from this list of edges to one down here over to this side to create our lower shank portion. Okay, so now I want to copy, in fact I'll just move. I'm going to move the curves that I just created. I'll use the frame to frame move, the from frame, side datum plane, 3 o'clock, to frame, the 6 o'clock. There it is. Next I'm going to scale. In fact I'm going to insert some variables for this scale. And we'll call this the bottom thickness scale. Let's say a 0.75. Confirm, middle click, and we'll have a bottom width scale. And we'll set this to be a half, 0.5. Okay, so now we'll come into the scale. The entities are our two curves. Method, non-uniform. Plane, we'll pick the plane and we'll pick the center as the center or the origin. Set our entity filter onto datum plane to get an exact point. Okay, now the scale, the X scale, is relating to our bottom curve width. So I'm going to link this up to the bottom width scale. The Y scale is our thickness, and this is the bottom thickness scale. The Z, we don't have a scale in the Z. So let's confirm the operation there. Okay, finally we right click, insert curve list, start off with these edges, middle click, same over here. Okay, we have 3 edges, not sure why that is, but we'll live with it. Middle click, now a curve list from our scaled curves. Finally, shape, loft, lofting from curve lists, 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's set this as adding as a base. Now we can play with our tangencies to get it lined up nice. Come to a front view. Okay, the reason we're doing a loft is so that we're keeping the tangency, the flow from our upper half to our lower half. Let's confirm it there. In fact, I'm going to right click, redefine. I don't want to keep the profiles. Okay, so there's our ring. We'll save our work. And let's go into our driving parameters. We'll add our last 2 driving parameters in. These are our scales. Okay, now we can play around to get the desired result. Say we want to increase this. Okay, so anyway, you get the point. We can now come in and play around with our driving parameters to create some interesting, more organic shapes that we can then build on, place gemstones. We'll in fact be building a ring using this template that we've created in the next part of the lesson.